Comrades and friends, on behalf of Éirígí and the Commemoration Committee, I welcome you all. We have gathered here today to honour and pay tribute to those brave men and women who have died in the course of the struggle for Irish freedom and independence. I especially welcome the family of those fallen volunteers who have joined us today on what is for them a personal and poignant occasion. This month marks the centenary of Commemoration, formed in Dublin on the 2nd of April 1914. As stated in its constitution, part of its aims were to advance the cause of Irish liberty and to organise Irish women in the furtherance of this object. 2 years after the formation of Commemoration, when the Military Council of the Irish Republican Brotherhood finalised arrangements for the Easter Rising, it integrated Commemoration along with the Irish Volunteers and Irish Citizens Army into the Army of the Irish Republic. It is with great honour today we carry the flag of Commemoration as part of our colour party to honour their role in the 1916 Rising. "98 years ago, on Easter Monday 1916, Commemoration members were established in nearly all the major strongholds throughout the city. Alongside their male comrades, they rose in armed revolt against the British occupation of this country and proclaimed the establishment of the Irish Republic. Over 70 women, including many of the leading figures in Commemoration, were arrested and imprisoned in Kilmainham. 16 of the leaders of the Rising were executed by the British. Along with the Irish Volunteers and Irish Citizen Army killed in action, a number of Commemoration members died in the Rising, including volunteer Margarita Keogh, who was shot dead outside the South Dublin Union. Their sacrifice ensured that the vision of an independent, free Irish Republic would remain alive through future generations. Since Easter week of 1916, over 2,000 Republicans have died in subsequent phases of our struggle for freedom. Today we remember them all. And now please stand to attention for Oran the Vein, which will be played for us by O'Glock, Patricia Frank Ryan Republican Band, or Milgate. The aims and objectives of all those who have died are articulated through the words of the 1916 proclamation, and I ask Francie McGuigan from Belfast to read from this historic document.
Public Naharan, the Provisional Government of the Irish Republic to the people of Ireland. Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and the dead generations from which you seized her old tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. Having organised and trained her manhood through her secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through her open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and Irish Citizens Army. Having patiently perfected her discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself, she now seizes this moment. And supported by our exiled children in America and by our gallant allies in Europe. But relying in the first on her own strength, she now strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare the right of the Irish people to the ownership of Ireland and to the unfettered control of Irish destinies to be sovereign and indefeasible. The long usurpation of that right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished except by the destruction of the Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have asserted their right to national freedom and sovereignty. 6 times during the past 300 years, they have asserted it in arms. Standing on that fundamental right, and again inserting in arms in the face of the world, we hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as a sovereign, independent state, and we pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare, and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled to and hereby claims the allegiance of every Irish man and Irish woman. The Irish Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all its citizens, and is declared to resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and of all its parts, cherishing all the children of the nation equally, and oblivious of the differences currently fostered by an alien government which has divided the minority from the majority in the past. Until our arms have brought about the opportune moment to establish a permanent national government, representatives of the whole people of Ireland and elected by the suffrages of our men and women, the provisional government hereby constituted will administer civil and military affairs in Republic and trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessing we invoke upon our arms, and we pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonour it by cowardice, inhumanity or rapine. In this supreme hour, the Irish nation must, by its valour and discipline, and by the readiness of its children to sacrifice themselves for the common good, prove itself worthy of the august destiny to which it is called. Signed on behalf of the Provisional Government, Thomas J. Clark, Sean McDermott, P.H. Pearce, James Connolly, Thomas McDonough, Eamon Kent, Joseph Plunkett.
Can I now call upon Jackie to please come forward and play the Lamont during the lowering of the flags. As a mark of respect for all our fallen dead, and to allow you time to reflect among those who were comrades and friends, I would ask you all to observe a minute's silence. A number of wreaths will now be laid in memory of all those who paid the supreme sacrifice in the course of the struggle for national liberation. The first wreath on behalf of Éirígí will be laid by Philly McNally. Eamon O'Cleary will lay the wreath from the Irish Republican Martyrs Commemoration Committee. A wreath will be led by Kevin Hanaway on behalf of former Republican prisoners. I would now call upon anyone else with wreaths and flags to come forward. I now ask Stephen Murney to step forward to deliver the main oration. Stephen is an Irish political activist from Newry. As well as being active in community politics, Stephen is also a member of Éirígí. He was recently acquitted and released after being interned for 14 months in jail, following a long-running campaign of harassment by the PSNI. I would ask you all to warmly welcome Stephen here today.
It is a privilege to join with you today to pay tribute to all those who died for Irish freedom, not only during the Easter Rising of 1916, but in every period of our long struggle. Easter is a time when Republicans gather at gravesites and monuments across Ireland to remember those who have died in pursuit of Irish freedom. It is also a time when we recommit ourselves to the pursuance of Republican objectives which were clearly enunciated in the Proclamation of 1916. This year, and indeed this month, marks the centenary of the formation of Cumann na Mán. Most of you are wearing an Easter lily, an emblem first designed in 1925 by Cumann na Mán to remember Ireland's patriot dead. It is only fitting that this year we remember all our Republican dead. We pay a special tribute to all those women who played a full and active part in our liberation struggle. Ireland has a long and noble record of many women who played and who continue to play prominent and leading roles in the struggles for national freedom, for social justice and for economic equality for all. Women in Ireland took up arms, raised funds and hid fugitives during the rebellion of 1798. In Wexford, Antrim and Down, women marched into combat beside the men and died beside them on the same battlefields. Betsy Gray, Mary Ann McCracken, Anne Devlin were but a few of the many courageous women of that era. The great strikes of 1913 that led up to the Dublin lockout included many women workers who later that year founded the Irish Women's Workers' Union. The Irish Citizen Army, first formed as a workers' defence force during the lockout, included women in its ranks and accorded them equal status with the men. The founding of Cumann na Mán in 1914 was an important step forward by women in asserting their own role in Irish politics and assisting in the wider radicalisation of Irish women. In 1914, Mary Spring Rice and Molly Childers served notice of the latent power that women could bring to the growing revolutionary movement when they were part of the crew on board the Asgard which landed arms for the Volunteers in Howth. The proclamation of the Provisional Government, read aloud by Padraig Pearse outside the GPO in 1916, was addressed to Irish men and Irish women alike. That declaration of freedom gave women equal citizenship, equal opportunities and equal rights in the new Irish Republic. Ireland's women, through the Irish Citizen Army and Cumann na Mán, were directly involved during the fighting of Easter week. Countess Markovich was in charge of Republican forces at Stephen's Green. Among the last people to leave the GPO in 1916 were Cumann na Mán members Julia Grennan, Elizabeth O'Farrell and Belfast's Winifred Carney, who is buried in this cemetery. Along with over 70 other women, they were each imprisoned by the British for their part in the Rising. Women's involvement in the Republican struggle intensified during the Tan War and the period of the counter-revolution. Hundreds of women were imprisoned during that time. The membership of Cumann na Mán unanimously rejected the Treaty of 1921. All 6 female TDs of the Dáil, including Mary McSweeney, Margaret Pearse and Kathleen Clark, voted against the treaty on partition. They knew only too well that their quest for freedom, rights and equality would be undermined by partition and by the Free State's subjection to the British Crown. In the following decades, during the 30s, 40s and 50s, through to more recent times, Cumann na Mán continued to be at the forefront of the struggle for Irish freedom. All those women made great sacrifices. They gave up their previously peaceful existences for the Republican struggle. Many of those women lost husbands and sons, lost boyfriends, postponed marriages and other like plans, spent time in prison on hunger strikes, and they experienced reprisals against their families by the state. Some, like the late Mara Drum and Patricia Black, along with other brave women, ultimately gave their own lives. In this centenary year of the formation of Cumann na Mán, it is right that we salute and honour all those women who across many generations have played a part in our national liberation struggle. In that respect, it is correct that we acknowledge and send solidarity to those women who are currently imprisoned in Ireland for their political beliefs. Women such as Ursula Shannon in Limerick Jail and Sharon Rafferty, Christine Connors and Nuala Gormley in Highbank. We also send solidarity for Palestinian sisters in struggle imprisoned by the Israeli state. When Maria Farrell stated that Irish women had been oppressed both as women and as Irish people, she spoke an undeniable truth. It is always worth reminding ourselves that women's participation in the Republican struggle was never just about achieving national liberation. It has also been about the struggle of working class women for better living conditions, for better working conditions and pay, for a radical political voice and for an end to discrimination and injustice in all its forms. For our own part, as Irish Republicans and as Socialists, we should always strive to fully ensure within our own activities and engagements that our female comrades are treated equally and respectfully, that their opinions are listened to, and that their presence, advice and knowledge is valued and appreciated. We gather here to remember all those who died in the struggle for national freedom. The struggle taken up by Republicans in 1916 was carried on by many other courageous men and women. All those whom we honour today saw the injustice caused by the British occupation of their country and by the unjust exploitation of this country's resources by a small minority, and they decided to act. Today, almost a century after the 1916 Rising, Ireland remains controlled by imperialism, albeit in new and more subtle forms. The livelihoods of the vast majority of Irish people are controlled by unjust and undemocratic forces which stretch from this island to London, to Washington and Brussels. They are no different to the same undemocratic controlling forces which Connolly, Clark, Pearse and many other fallen comrades mobilised against during their lifetimes. The Harja, the business of establishing the free, sovereign and independent Irish Republic declared in 1816 remains unfinished. The goals and objectives of those who fought, who were imprisoned and who were executed are far from complete. Those whom we honour today did not engage in struggle to defend or maintain British rule. They did not engage in struggle to defend or legitimise partition. Those whom we honour today sought an end to imperialism and monarchy. They did not seek to dine with or pay deference to any figurehead representing those unjust political, social and economic systems. Over the next 2 years, as the centenary year of the Easter Rising draws near, the modern day forces of counter-revolution will embark upon an unprecedented revisionist propaganda campaign aimed at trying to persuade the public mind that the objectives of 1916 have been secured through the partition of our country. We must be prepared to challenge that propaganda campaign both north and south. We must educate others into the nature of the Irish Republican struggle. Our struggle is about achieving real political freedom. It is about delivering social justice. It is about economic equality for all. The task for all of us is to create a new vision of a new Irish Republic and to reignite the inherent desire for true political, social and economic freedom and justice that exists among all the people in this island. As we remember our patriot dead with pride, let their example encourage us all to continue with the struggle to achieve a free and truly independent 32-county Irish Republic. And as we honour all our Republican patriot dead, let us also pause and reflect on all those women of all nations who in this 21st century are engaged in struggle around the world, from Ireland to Palestine, Africa and South America. They still continue with their opposition to foreign aggression, occupation, displacement and deprivation of the most basic human, economical, social and political rights. James Connolly paid his own tribute to all such women in struggle when he wrote 1 year before his own execution at the hands of the British forces. There are none so fitted to break the chains as they who wear them, none so well equipped to decide what is a fetter. In its march towards freedom, the working class of Ireland must cheer on the efforts of those women who, feeling on their souls and bodies the fetters of the ages, have arisen to strike them off.